Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Planes, Trains, and Comic Books channel. My name is Matt, and today we're going to review The Frontiersman #1. And before we get into that, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, subscribing, it really helps me out and lets me know what you guys want to see more of. So with that being said, let's get straight into this thing. All right, so we see The Frontiersman #1 here. It is an Image book. It is by Patrick Kinlan and Marco Ferrari. Yeah, and I really just picked this one up because the cover looked interesting, and I don't know, just this guy looked cool, and I wanted to read what this guy was about. We start off in the forest somewhere. There's someone talking on the phone with someone named Claire. And then we get a shot of a robot walking, and halfway through the conversation, the old man who was talking on the phone, we see him, he's right here. He kills this robot with a club that he's got. And that's kind of what I thought this book was going to be about. Like, this old man's the frontiersman, and maybe this is in some weird apocalyptic future, and maybe there's like robots after him, or there's an evil bad guy that builds robots and attacks him and whatnot. But that's not what this is about. It's actually set in kind of more modern days than that. At the cabin where he lives in the middle of the woods, someone's there inside. He thinks they're broken in, but it's actually a guy named Deontay who is looking for the frontiersman. And basically, he works with an environmental group, and he's gone through all the other heroes he could, and finally he was left with the frontiersman. So he had to track him down in the middle of the back country. And the kid tries to like talk him into it by saying like, "Oh, you were like a great hero and you were so good." But basically he figures out like, "Oh, I'm the last one that you've got, right? Like you've went to everybody else and they all said no." And he's like, "Yeah." Basically that's it, because he wasn't a very well-known superhero, but he was the only one that was kind of like an environmentalist. He doesn't want him to help with money or anything like that. He actually wants the frontiersman to go to the Pacific Redwoods and like camp out in a tree that's going to get cut down, I guess, and try to save this forest. And then we cut to this football game. I'm assuming this is the bad guy. They don't really give us too much on this other than this is, I'm assuming, the dad of the football guy, and he seems like a businessman. And basically, he's got a call from someone, we don't know who, that says, that's telling him they're looking for a hero. They're trying to find someone that can, save this forest. And basically, this guy's like, I don't care about them. They're not going to be able to find someone that can stop what we're trying to do. So the next day, he actually walked Deontay out of the forest, and then he asked the kid real quick before he leaves, like, "Hey, also, like, how did you get my name? Or like, how did you find my house?" And the kid's like, "Oh, from my professor, Professor Umar." And that piques the frontiersman's interest. So he actually gives the kid a ride into town so he can talk to Professor Umar, who ends up being one of the heroes that fought alongside the frontiersman. Now he's a teacher of environmental socialism, he says. And basically, he used to be a superhero named Unicell, who's kind of like the Atom or something. I think he can shrink down and whatnot. And they kind of talk about like, I guess, political stuff that's going on in the college. And then on his way home, he goes to talk to Claire, who was the person on the phone that he was talking to at the beginning. It turns out she works at a co-op grocery store. He's asking her like, should I do this thing? And she's saying, don't do it. You shouldn't do it. And they kind of get in a little argument about it, but she's pretty strident, like, look, this guy's trying to use you and use your name. It's just a trend for these kids. So like, don't come back out and cause a bunch of ruckus, because basically, I don't know if in this world heroes are undercover now or something, or they're not popular, but basically if he comes out, it's going to cause an issue. I'm going to leave it right there. I don't want to spoil the rest of the comic for you guys. So yeah, this one was weird. I felt like there was just a lot of talking in it and not a lot of action, other than the opening scene where he like fights the robot while he's on a conversation, like on a phone conversation. But like, it just seems like there's a little too much talking, not enough action, and then also like not enough setup, or there's nothing to really make you feel super invested in the story, unless, I guess, if you're super into environmentalism, maybe that's the way to go. Obviously it is a little bit political, so if you do not like politics and comics, this one is definitely not for you. It is definitely more on the left-wing spectrum, as far as, obviously, it's talking about environmentalism. They're talking about co-ops. They're talking about business against environmentalism. So, things like that, probably not your deal if you're if you don't like politics and comics in general, or if you're not on the left. So just overall, this one didn't really do it for me. there was nothing really pulling me in or anything. So I was kind of hoping this would have been about a man that lives in the woods fighting robots or something. And it's like post-apocalyptic world or whatnot, but that is not what this was. It's kind of what I thought it was just based on the cover and the first page. I was like, oh, cool, it's a robot. It's fighting robots. But nope, the rest of the comic is just talking to a environmentalist student and then talking to an environmentalist teacher and then talking to a co-op friend. So so yeah, there's a lot of talking and a lot of setup. It doesn't really pull me in. So I'm gonna give this one a 2. Once again, your mileage might vary. If this seemed interesting to you, go check it out. If not, don't buy it. And with that, we'll see you guys on the next one.